It's to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience.
The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
How does it feel to represent your country like this?
It feels amazing. I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent USA.
Mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
It's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities. I hope I can use my platform and my voice throughout these games to try and encourage people to stay strong in these hard times. I know that a lot of people say you're just an athlete, like stick to your job, shut up about politics, but politics affect us all. It is something that I will not just be quiet about because it is something that affects us in our everyday lives.
We'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention what's going on in Minnesota and what a tough time it's been for everybody. I am a lawyer, as you know, and we do we have a constitution, and it allows us to freedom of the press and freedom of speech, protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures, and makes it that we have to, have probable cause to be pulled over. And what's happening in Minnesota is wrong. There's no shades of gray. It's clear.
Olympic athletes are unbelievable, and I know the entire country is rooting for them. Yes, you're going to have some Olympic athletes who pop off about politics. I feel like that happens every Olympics. My advice to them would be to try to bring the country together. And when you're representing the country, you're representing Democrats and Republicans. You're there to play a sport, and you're there to represent your country and hopefully win a medal. You're not there to pop off about politics. So when Olympic athletes enter the political arena, they should expect some pushback. But most Olympic athletes, whatever their politics, are doing a great job.
Being able to represent the U.S. at this stage in the Olympics is one of the greatest honors that I've ever had. So I'm truly grateful to be here representing the red, white, and blue.
Do you think President Trump will pardon you and your boss, Kristi Noem, before he leaves office, just like he has for insurrectionists and his political allies?
I'm not going to speak on behalf of President Trump, but I'll tell you, I signed up for this job to protect America, and I'm very proud of the service that I provide, and I don't need a pardon from anybody.
Well, you better hope so. You better hope you get being pardoned, because you will be held accountable for the absolute disregard of the law your agencies have shown over the past year. Your agencies have lost the trust of the American people.
How many government agencies, Mr. Lyons, are you aware of that routinely kill American citizens and you still get funding?
Ma'am, I'm not going to entertain that.
Of course you're not. Exactly. Once again, questions that you cannot answer. And that is exactly why, Mr. Chairman, and to this committee, to my colleagues, and to my colleagues across the aisle, this is exactly why we should not be funding this agency. The people are watching you. They are watching you. And this is why we need to abolish ICE.
The SAVE Act is expected to be brought this week to the floor for a vote. Do you support voter ID for elections?
Well, it depends on what you mean by voter ID. When you want to say that everyone has to produce a birth certificate, including women whose married names are not on their birth certificates, that creates a real problem for me.
Well, isn't that just one of the first steps in getting married is getting a new ID?
Actually, it's not getting a new birth certificate, because part of what the SAVE Act does is it says most driver's licenses around the country won't work as an ID, and that creates a terrible problem.
But you need an ID to do just about anything in America. Shouldn't you need one to vote in elections?
Don't need a birth certificate. I hope you know that.
Charlie Kirk. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer, in the moments I'm afraid. There's a whisper in the wind, and a story in the sky, when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
Hello, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. I'm Blake. I'm here at the Bitcoin.com studio in Bitcoin.com, Phoenix, Arizona. Andrew is also with us. I believe he's in Palm Beach. I'm not sure if we have a connection with him or not. We don't have him yet. Alrighty, well, we'll just jump right into it. There's a lot going on today. But the story we wanted to start with today is one that I think affects certainly all of us here in a more personal way than it ever did before. Yesterday, there was a mass shooting in Canada. This is in the town of Tumbler Ridge. It's in northern British Columbia. It's a town of only a few thousand people, very far away from anywhere else. And there was a shooter there, and there's been 10 fatalities, including the shooter himself. But what stands out about this is it fits into a micro pattern that has emerged over the past few years. The police originally identified the shooter as a woman in a dress with brown hair. I think if you're like me, if you're like a lot of people, that immediately makes you raise an eyebrow. A woman in a dress. And unsurprisingly, what a lot of people immediately jump to is this is probably a transgender person who has done a shooting. And that was only supported when the police came out, and this is the Canadian police, of course, and began referring to the shooter as a word I'm not sure any of us have ever heard before. Let's play clip 351.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay. And then separately, do you know the gun person's relationship to the
a gun person, not a gunman. I think even when a woman does a shooting, it's usually just gunman. But no, this time it's a gun person. And so I'm not going to recite the name merely because the Canadian police have not officially identified the shooter yet, but we have very, very strong, I would say overwhelming evidence that this shooter was a local transgender individual. This person killed 2 people in their own family at their home and then went to their school and went on a spree shooting. And this is something that personally affects me because I remember when the Covenant School shooting happened in the spring of 2023. I just started working with Charlie, and that shooter, of course, turned out to have a transgender identification along with a bunch of other issues. And Charlie predicted on this show that he thought there would be a wave of transgender shooters of one kind or another. And I was skeptical. I said, Charlie, they're a very tiny share of the population, under 1%. Shootings like this are rare events generally. And I don't think you're likely to see, 1% times a tiny number turn into a real trend. And the truth is Charlie was right and I was wrong, because since then we had the shooting at Annunciation Catholic in Minneapolis. That was a transgender shooter. We hadn't known about this at the time or noticed it, but Highlands Ranch in Colorado, there was a shooting there, 2 shooters, and one of them was transgender. And of course, as all of you know, Tyler Robinson, the suspect who we believe to be guilty of Charlie's shooting, he appears to have been motivated. He was not transgender himself, but was in a relationship with a transgender individual and seems to have been motivated ideologically by that cause. And now this shooter, we're getting the person who's very likely the shooter. We're getting details. Someone found their Reddit account. This person was taking a super dose of Zoloft, 280 milligrams a day. I checked online. The starting dose is 25 milligrams, goes up to 200. This person was taking 280. They were supplementing that with marijuana. They were taking something called 5-MeO-DMT, which is a psychoactive drug that you get from licking Arizona desert toad. You extract that and get a psychoactive experience. And then this person was taking a giant pile of hormones because they thought they should be the opposite sex. And what I have to say is I think we're going to see more things like this, because we're reaping the harvest that was sown about a decade ago when we started to have the transgender cultural contagion spread. It started with a handful of families in the Bay Area, elite families. They had this kind of, let's say it, a fetish that was indulged and fed. And then we blasted it out to the entire world with media and with the Obama administration encouraging insurance companies to cover this. And then we had activists take over medical professional organizations and egg them on into saying, yeah, if your kid says, oh, they feel unhappy about going through puberty, or they don't like being a boy or don't like being a girl, we're going to put them on a rocket ship towards getting irreversible surgeries, and we're going to put them on a ton of hormones. And the truth is these are all very mentally unwell people who are probably not going to respond well to a giant cocktail of chemicals being thrown at their brain. And what started as a very niche thing with a handful of people has turned into a broad-based thing. Like I said, Tumbler Ridge, small town in rural Canada. And if you go across America, everyone in America has had this encounter. Someone at their school, it's a boy who says he's a girl now, grew out their hair, wears a different outfit. And these people over and over are not mentally well, and they gravitate together in online spaces where they're fed a very radicalizing ideology. They're told everyone must accept you, or they're trying to commit genocide against you. They're denying your right to exist. And you have the right, and they're the ones who are most prone to interpret that literally and think, oh, if someone is denying my right to exist, I should respond with violence. I should lash out at the world. This suspected shooter appears to, on Reddit, besides posting about the insane number of drugs they were taking, they were going to a shooting range and practicing, and they were posting clips of this on Trans Guns, which is a subreddit that exists for transgender people to practice with guns. We've created a very, very toxic environment, and I just shudder to think that we're probably going to have more events like this, more shooters like the ones who targeted Covenant School, like Annunciation Catholic, and like what happened with Charlie. But in the meantime, we do have this very bleak denial where there's a true dynamic you notice with this shooting where they have the competing impulses where they realize that if they publicly announce, oh, it was a shooter and it was a transgender individual who may have been motivated by that will look bad. But they've also been trained for a decade that they can't deny this person's pronouns. So we get this bizarre situation where they're using gun person as their chosen lingo, but they won't confirm who the shooter is. They've taken longer on this than I think they normally would with something like, because they still haven't confirmed it a day later. And they, at this point, I think very easily could. And we have clips that point this out. Let's do 352.
But we know if it was a victim who was trans, because we understand this is a 15-year-old boy who identifies as a girl, gun crazy. If it had been a trans victim, they'd have talked non-stop about that, as they did about the tragedy of the killing of Brianna Ghey, who was a boy who was living as if he was a girl and was treated as a girl by his parents, and he was killed. He was not targeted for being gay, but most of the media reports go on and on and on about this trans killing because he was trans identified, but they ignore it when it's the perpetrator.
All right, and I'm told we do finally have Andrew with us in Palm Beach. So, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Blake.
And man, what a tragedy that I think all of us are horrified by.
We were letting you cook. We were letting you cook, Blake. You made a lot of great points. Yeah, I'm here in Palm Beach, the mothership for Real America's Voice with Rob and Parker Sig. But yeah, this was a horrible shooting, and instantly you made the connection. I thought about Charlie. I thought about the predictions he made. We got a clip on the other side of this break that we're going to play of Charlie warning about this, and he was right, and a lot of people were wrong. But we'll be back from break really soon here. Talk to you then.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
I'm Terry from New Jersey, and I just want to say that I love Real America's Voice. I love you guys. Keep up the good work.
It's Stacy from Texas. I watch Real America's Voice because I need to learn.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I think we got our tech worked out there, Blake. Blake's in the Bitcoin.com studio. I'm in the remote Bitcoin.com studio. Your one place to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin. By the way, Bitcoin has been in the news a lot lately because of all this Savannah Guthrie stuff. Nancy Guthrie, they're looking at Bitcoin wallets and all that stuff. Anyways, lots of breaking news there. We're going to get to that with John Solomon on the other side of this segment. So stay tuned for John Solomon. We're also going to break some news in the Fulton County ongoing FBI investigation. Pam Bondi's before the House hearing. Lots going on. Plus, we got all these Olympians trashing the country, Blake. We're going to have to find time for that today because we have to hit that. But on this trans shooting, Blake, you've really done a deep dive. Bravo on that first segment. You did fantastic. But we got to play this clip from Charlie. This was back in 2023. You mentioned that Charlie was right and a lot of people were wrong. And maybe even you were wrong, but he nailed it. And it's creepy watching this stuff. One of our producers sent me this clip from 2023 and said, this is going to be hard to watch, but you have to play it. And I agree. The way that everything went down with Charlie and the Tyler Robinson case, and you made mention of the fact that he was at least motivated by his, relationship with this trans-identifying person. So let's go ahead and play it. This is from, I believe this is from March 28th, 2023. Play cut 386.
Trans people have been made into kind of a sacred cow of American politics. You can't question it. You can't criticize it. And they believe they can threaten whoever they want. This is the ultimate top of the Impression Olympics. How many dead kids is it going to take for us to say we've probably gone too far here and we should just ask a couple questions? How many mass shootings have to happen where we probably say, wait a second, can we just calm down?
And basically Charlie goes on in that clip. We have a second one, 397. It might be worth playing. But the media has so fixated. And by the way, Canada is worse than just about any other country. It's worse than America. It's probably worse than the UK, Blake. But they were worried about the privacy of the shooter. So this person kills 9 people, wounds another 25. Some of them may lose their life, kills his own family, and they're worried about his privacy. Think about how backwards that value system is, that would prioritize the privacy of the shooter, call them a gun person, a lady in a dress, respect the hell out of this person, but they don't give 2 craps about the people that just got shot and killed. Play cut 397.
The media is actually pushing forward this total lie that there's a trans genocide. Again, the Trans Day of Vengeance. They have shirts where they say trans rights, and they have all these weapons or else. That is a threat. Antifa and the trans mafia are now partners, and nobody's investigating them. Now, no one's asking questions. The media is terrified of these people. And by the way, some of that fear is warranted. You will get death threats. They will try to come after you. That's what they do. They enjoy the violence against conservatives.
He was 100% right on that, and as we learned to our horror. And it really is, if you look around online, if you start looking for the pattern, you see it over and over again, because it's not just that they're radicalized. It's routinely, even in stuff that's not specifically about transgenderism, often the most radical, the most extreme people in any movement are often, the joke would be that they're the Tranissaries. They're like the shock troops of leftism, and often in bizarre ways. Like a lot of the most militantly left-wing moderators on websites like Wikipedia or on Reddit, they're often transgender. And then they're the ones, for example, who would be really gung-ho about censorship. So the reason censorship on so many platforms went through the roof is you would have these transgender moderators and editors and such take it over, and they would just, everything gets consumed into them enforcing their fetish, this contagion, on the entire population, because they need that level of control. Because as people have pointed out, if they aren't endlessly having people affirm their identity, it's like giving Narcan to a heroin addict. You're killing their high, and you're driving them into a frenzy. And then on top of that, they're all medicated to the gills on toad venom and so on. Andrew, but well, yeah, I wanted us to make sure that we hit another aspect of this, because there is reason for hope. This is all bad. We're probably going to see more shootings like this in the years to come.
Yes, please.
But a big reason for hope that happened in the last few days, and we haven't talked about it yet, we're going to also see the reckoning against the freaks and frauds and charlatans, the medical malpractice monsters in our schools and hospital systems who fed people into this contagion. A couple weeks ago in New York, not a red state by any means, a New York jury awarded a woman, Fox Varian, $2 million in a medical malpractice case because her parents were going through a divorce. They were fighting over custody. She got depressed. She was diagnosed with autism. And as part of this, she started to identify as a boy, was put on a rocket ship, got a double mastectomy in about a year, under a year, and only got worse, and then eventually detransitioned, went to a jury and said, this was medical malpractice. I was not really a boy, and they did all these things to me. And she just got $1.6 million in past pain and $400,000 to cover her future medical costs. And if you look at the numbers from 2016 to 2020, according to the American Medical Association, we've had over 3,200 mastectomies on children 12 to 18, 405 genital surgeries.
Blake, how many? Read that first stat again.
3,215 mastectomies on 12 to 18-year-olds from 2016 to 2020. So, and that was before the peak. I'd say the peak was probably 21, 22. Maybe we're still peaking. So we've probably had thousands more. 405 genital surgeries, 350 other gender-related procedures, and that's on 12 to 18-year-old children of both sexes. It almost certainly the real number is higher, and that's surgeries. Never mind how many people took hormones, because that's the first intervention they do, or puberty blockers. We know the puberty blockers that wouldn't even fall into that age window. That's often kids, 9 to 12 years old. And that can massively mess you up. That can lower your IQ. That can make you infertile for life. Huge numbers of problems. And now, the other day, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons basically came out against gender-related surgery for minors. I think we're opening the door to a wave. Thousands of these lawsuits could be coming, and they should be coming. Red states, we should make sure our laws are as amenable as possible to these lawsuits. Make it so there's no window where, there's no statute of limitations on it, no ceiling on the damages. We should utterly bankrupt every doctor, every clinic that fed children to this Moloch monstrosity.
Yeah, it's you'd hope something like this will just further underscore something that is common sense to most Americans, but the fact that we're having to fight on this battle just shows how bad it has gotten, bad in so many senses of the word, how detached from reality we've become. John Solomon joins us next. We're going to go to Fulton County and Savannah Guthrie. All the breaking news on both fronts. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
It was the cover.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, and digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons why gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. There's also a never-ending list of reasons why smart Americans are diversifying a portion of their savings into precious metals with the Birch Gold Group. More than any other commodity on Earth, gold thrives during times of uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced investment strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is the right thing for you as well. The Birch Gold Group can help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into an IRA in gold. In order to get more information, simply text the word America to the number 989898 and receive your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation here, just useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of satisfied customers, allow the Birch Gold Group to help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty around you. It's all as simple as texting the word America to the number 989898. Again, text the word America to the number 989898 today. Terrence Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. The airspace over El Paso, Texas is back open after being closed to all incoming and outbound aircraft late last night. Initially, the FAA said the airspace and the airport there were going to be closed for 10 days. That time frame quickly changed, though, early this morning as the situation is now back to normal. Meantime, the Department of War is confirming that it, quote, disabled Mexican cartel drones in that area, which led to the airport closure. In a post on X, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy saying the FAA and the War Department acted swiftly in order to address a cartel drone incursion. The threat has been neutralized, and there is no danger to commercial air travel in that region. Authorities say that Mexican cartels typically use drones to traffic drugs, control migrant crossing, and to wage war on rival cartels. Meantime, the mayor of El Paso is blasting the decision to abruptly close the airspace over his city, saying that he should have been consulted before that decision was reached. That's a quick check of your headlines.
This movement will not be silenced. You're listening to The Charlie Kirk Show.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show, live from Palm Beach. Blake is holding it down in Phoenix, Arizona at the Bitcoin.com studios. I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Strong Cell. You guys have been responding in massive numbers, which is really, really great. So if you have been a faithful Kirk listener, Charlie Kirk Show listener for any amount of time, you probably have heard about us talk about Strong Cell. And more recently, we've been telling you about it because they're back and better than ever. What they do is they have developed a proprietary delivery mechanism for something called NADH. It's an enzyme. NADH is metabolized by your mitochondria in your cell, and it powers every single one of your cells in your body. So it's the power source for literally everything you do. You used to have to go get an IV at some clinic, cost you hundreds of bucks to get it right into your blood. You don't have to do that anymore because they developed this proprietary delivery mechanism that gets it through your digestive system. So it's huge, really powerful, really important. It comes in these little bottles. You just drink one every day. Give it 4 to 6 weeks. You're going to notice a massive, massive impact. And here's the best part. Even if I'm wrong, even if you don't experience what I think you're going to experience, now it comes with a 90-day risk-free trial. So you money back guarantee, 90-day completely risk-free. Go to strongcell.com, use promo code Charlie at checkout. That's Charlie at checkout to get a 20% off of your first order. 20% off, Charlie at checkout, 90-day risk-free money back guarantee. It is the perfect time to try Strong Cell. See if NADH, which is like all the rage with all the supplement hawks and the biohackers, NADH is massive right now because people know it's like a life hack. So check it out, strongcell.com, promo code Charlie. All right, studio, do we have John Solomon lined up yet?
Oh, we're still waiting on him.
Okay, I guess I think we have. He's trying to get in. Complicated business. The tech has been fighting us this morning.
We'll have him soon. Well, we were going to have him. Do we want to hit him on? Do we want to talk about Nancy Guthrie first, or do we want to talk about this Fulton County case first?
Yeah, let's hit Nancy Guthrie because this was, I mean, if you watched any of the news last night, so I got in late into Palm Beach and I turned on the TV and it was like wall-to-wall coverage. Like all the networks were covering it because we are now in the 11th day of this Nancy Guthrie saga where she was kidnapped. And people figured it out because she didn't make it to church, and they called the family. The family went and checked. They immediately called 911 and got the cops involved. And the investigation had stalled. It just felt like there was no movement. There was these ransom letters that were getting sent to TMZ and local affiliates that included Bitcoin wallets. And you saw Savannah Guthrie going on TV saying, please, we want to talk. And it does appear that there's been activity now in this Bitcoin wallet. So originally there was $300 sent. Now we're being told it could be all of it sent, but Harvey Levin over TMZ is being very coy about what they know. It is one of those crazy stories that just seemed to accelerate with a lot of velocity last night. And so the FBI releases these Ring doorbell footage that came from sort of residual data on this Ring doorbell. Nancy Guthrie did not have a subscription to keep the footage, to store the footage. And so the FBI had to come in with their digital experts and recreate it, reverse engineer it. And then they went and found a person of interest. SWAT teams were sent out. They investigated this guy. It was everybody last night was thinking, was this the guy that kidnapped her? Was it somebody that was associated with the case? And listen, when the networks like this and when the tabloids are all covering this story, it means there's a billion eyeballs on this thing. For this has captured the imagination of the country, and it's just a really interesting story because, as Blake has mentioned, as I've mentioned, as Charlie used to mention, this is really close to the Mexican border, and this person of interest was pulled over in a traffic stop about 10 minutes from the Mexican border. So it was actually south of Tucson where Nancy Guthrie lives. He's pulled over in 10 minutes away from the border. We're all thinking, uh-oh, here we go. Here we go now. Could be the cartels. Then they interview him. This guy gets released. He says he's innocent, 356.
What were they asking you about?
Where my whereabouts.
Okay.
Where do I work? Where was I and all that? But
are you ever up in Tucson?
Yeah, I work in Tucson.
What do you do?
GLS, deliver packages.
Okay. Do you think you might have delivered a package to Nancy Guthrie's house?
I don't know. Might have been a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you ever deliver like Amazon packages or anything?
Well, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So do you think you may have? Did they indicate that you might have been on her property? You're not sure.
Nah, they just came up. They until right now, all I know is that they show my in-law a picture of somebody wearing a mask or something, and they supposedly look like my eyes.
Right.
Okay, so he denies this. I guess his mother-in-law was doing interviews with MS Now or CNN last night as well. It's a fascinating story that seems to be developing. I think the big headline here, Blake, is the power of the FBI to retrace digital footprints. Oh, we do have John now. John Solomon.
Welcome, John.
Yes, welcome to the show, John.
Good to be with you.
We've been fighting tech all morning. Good. It's great to have you. We're good. It's been one of those mornings though. So, John, give us the latest. I mean, it seemed like this case had stalled, and then all of a sudden it just accelerated rapidly with Savannah Guthrie and her mom, who's obviously been kidnapped, Nancy. What is the latest? They had this person of interest that was detained, not arrested. They've let this person go. What's the latest?
So I think what you're seeing is the FBI has a pool of suspects. Remember what Kash Patel told Sean Hannity last night, that they're looking at multiple people who could be involved in this. Now, it doesn't mean they were working together. It could be that they've got a pool of people that fit certain criteria. Their phone was in the area at the time. Their eyes looked the same as the guy on the camera. They were near, or their phone was near a location that was of interest. And they're trying to narrow down who those people are and whether one of those people could, or more than one of those people, could have been involved in the abduction. And so it's a process of elimination. And, we in the media sometimes want instant gratification. First guy, we're going to get him. Kash Patel did a good job getting Charlie's shooter right away. But sometimes you have to eliminate a few people. You got 4 phones in the right area at the right time, and we got to figure out which one is which until we find the guy whose eyes match who's on the camera. And I think they're in a process of elimination right now. And that will mean some people are going to be detained who are innocent. Some people who are going to be detained that might ultimately be involved in the plot. But it is a process of elimination, and it's not unlike what happens in a case like this where a lot of the evidence is already cold, and you got to go back and go to your second level of evidence to start finding people. Second level of evidence is a little less certain, but it gives you a pool of people to start looking at, and I think they're in that process right now.
Yeah, and John, that's my question, right? Because I remember this when, Charlie was killed. Everybody was talking about this first 48 hours. This is day 11 of this. So, the question then becomes, how does this case get solved 11 days out from the actual crime? And, what is the I guess my question has really been centered around, is this cartel related? Have you heard anybody referencing that? Is there concern about that? I noticed last night on the networks, nobody was mentioning that. Nobody wants to get ahead of themselves. I get that. But this to me would be the immediate thought. But, everybody keeps looking for those closest to the Guthrie family that might be connected in the Tucson area.
Yeah, I think right now what you see in the statements that the sheriff has made is that they believe the person who came to this home had some familiarity with the home. Obviously not enough familiarity because they look like they got surprised by the Ring camera. That's why they go get the brush and try to get rid of the Ring camera. But they seem to know the structure of the house, how to enter and where to go run back from. And so that tells you that this was a crime that at least was thought out, if not from someone that has some familiarity with the property. But that doesn't mean that a drug cartel couldn't have cased the joint. It doesn't mean that an insider could have been involved. It could mean someone that they met once and they came back to the house and realized they had a victim of potential opportunity. They're in a phase now where they don't have a singular theory. And I think that's what happens 11 days out. You start to approach a case from a cold case perspective, just like the way the FBI produced and arrested the January 6th bomber after 5 years. You go back and now you start to look at a wider circle of evidence. Someone in a pattern of evidence. Someone had that Ring camera for a while. Where did that Ring camera, while its battery was still on, what direction was that going in? Where did it last ping? What are the white trucks that went by the house? Who has a white truck or a white SUV? Because that was what neighbors reported. And you start looking for people that have multiple points of evidence, but none of them are directly obviously involved, and you start going through them and saying, could this be the person? They have a very important piece of evidence. They have biometrics of the eyes, and they're going to find that person eventually by stopping someone, and one of the first things they're going to do is an iris scan to see if it matches that suspect. And I think that that is a process it is, but they're widening the circle because there isn't a singular obvious candidate. That's going to result in some misses. When you do this sort of process of elimination, some people are going to be innocent, but they fit some of the data profiles and you got to work them down. But they're more in a cold case mode now than they were in the first 48 hours when you try to solve a crime. There's a lot of questions about what the sheriff did and didn't do in the early part of this investigation, why the property was abandoned for a while.
Yeah.
Those are big
That's
issues.
my question, John. So there's been sort of a storyline here that local officials were slow to cooperate with the feds. Have you confirmed that in your reporting?
I think there's been conversations going along all throughout, but that the sheriff's department was in the lead early on, and then at some point the FBI comes into the lead 3 to 4 days out, and that's not an uncommon scenario in a local crime, particularly if it looks like the local police can solve it in the first couple of days. FBI comes in an assistatory role. When you get 3 to 4 days out, and when there's a possibility that this could be a multiple person plot, which is one of the theories here, you got the crypto coming in, the alleged crypto allegations, you now bring in the FBI's expertise, and they bring capabilities that a local sheriff's department has. The FBI is much better at going back and retrieving old ring footage, camera footage, than a local police would be capable of doing. There are forensic capabilities that local police don't have, and so the FBI comes in with that. That's how you get the video. The video comes out, it starts getting people thinking, I think I know someone that looks like that. He drives a white van. Tips start coming in, and then you're starting to call that pool of suspects. When you go back to the January 6th case, and it's a classic case of solving an old crime, and an old crime is anything outside the 48-hour window when every lead is still hot. They had a group of people that they saw come in the 3rd Street Tunnel. They had a group of people who had phones. They had in the vicinity. They had a group of people that had some political reasons to have concerns about January 6th.
5 seconds, John.
And they put all those people on a map, and you just start eliminating them until you find your guy, and that's what's going on right now.
More with John Solomon. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was the cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you about our friends over at YREFI, YREFY.com. If you find yourself in a position with private student loan debt, and it's labeled as distressed or defaulted, then you want to check out whyrefi.com. These are good people, great patriots. They support the work that we do at Turning Point. They support this show, and they will support you too. If you can't make your payments every month, if you are falling behind, if you don't know how to get ahead, if you are distressed yourself, depressed, or God forbid suicidal, which apparently they have a lot of stories like that, which just breaks your heart. Please, you do not have to live this way. Just call the folks over at yrefy.com. It's a quick check of your credit with no credit impact. They don't care if you have bad credit. It'll be 3 minutes, 888-YREFI34 or yrefy.com. Check them out. They can save you thousands of dollars. They don't care what your credit score is, and you can even skip a payment every 6 months up to 12 times. They can help you out. You don't have to live with this mountain of student loan debt piling up on your kitchen table anymore. Get ahead of it. Take control of your financial destination and future. Check it out, whyrefi.com. Amazing, amazing folks. All right, so, John, I want to finish this with you really quick. So about the Nancy Guthrie thing, because it's huge news. We shouldn't be having kidnappings in the United States of America. This feels very Latin. It's a point Blake Neff makes a lot on this show. It feels very Latin American, and it's so close to the border. But Dan Bongino says he lays out three options, and he was this former deputy director of the FBI. So he says, one, this is either highly calculated professional crime. Two, the initial story is not everything. It's not the full truth, that the investigators are holding back details because it's probably messier or more explosive. I don't know if that means it involves, family members or connections that are closer. Or option three, law enforcement's completely stumped and they just don't want to say it. They're scared to admit that they're that stumped. Of those three options, where would you approximate where we're at right now?
I think you merge 1 and 2 together and you probably have your best option. There's probably some professionalism to this, but there could be some connectivity to people who know the family or knew of the family and might have reached out and got someone to do the initial kidnapping, and then it goes a little bit south, right? I think that's the theory I've heard most commonly in talking to law enforcement the last couple of days. So there may be someone who knows the family in some capacity at some time who saw a crime of opportunity. They might have reached out to someone to work with them to pull off that crime, and then it seems to go south in some ways. And that's why some of the police assess that some of these ransom notes seem not the normal path towards a ransom or kidnapping sort of crime. And so that's what I've heard on the inside. I don't think they're fully stumped. When you put out a video footage and you can show the eyes of a guy, and that means they probably have a car somewhere. It means they probably have tracking on the Ring device. When that guy takes the Ring device with and pulls it off, that's trackable for a period of time until the battery dies. And then at some point, people like that are going to pick up their cell phones. And so the third part is definitely true. They'll have more data than they put out there. But I think they're looking at a combination of someone who had familiarity with her or the family, and then maybe bringing in someone to commit the crime. I think that's the biggest area they're looking at right now.
All right, I want to pivot really quick here. Our audience is really into the Fulton County story. Blake went through the affidavit. So a judge just unsealed the affidavit that enabled the FBI's raid on Fulton County election offices. And you have a big piece at Just the News. Blake and John, tell us what you've learned. And then Blake, I know you know this better than me, so please chime in.
Yeah, first off, Blake, John, great job on all the work you do on a daily basis. You're doing amazing work. And by the way, let's put a circle around Maricopa County. It's the next Fulton County. I think you're going to see some law enforcement and legal activity in Maricopa County coming in the next few weeks. It probably won't involve the 2020 election. It will involve the 2024 election. Keep an eye on that. That's right in your backyard. So let's watch that. What we're looking at here is sort of the way that Al Capone gets captured. Al Capone never got prosecuted for being a mobster. They ultimately got him because he cheated on some taxes. Here in Fulton County, they're probably never going to prove that there was shenanigans in how votes were cast. but there is clear evidence that the way they were supposed to follow the law in counting the ballots and in complying with state law to do the recounts, that there were mass errors and that they may have tried to cover them up. And if they covered them up, they committed fraud under Section 512 of the U.S. Code, which says that election workers must abide by state law. They can't fraudulently fake counts or fake numbers just to make them look like they were competent. Now, what they're looking at is that Fulton County was so incompetent in voting that they mishandled the recount and the audits, and then they tried to cover it up. That is the theory of the case. There are 5. This is a very important thing. I want everybody to go look at the article that Politico did yesterday. They wrote one of the most bogus articles in the country. This is an old recycled case of conspiracy theories that Trump people have been kicking around for years. That's not what that affidavit says. The affidavit says we looked at all those conspiracies and we corroborated some of those concerns, and Fulton County has admitted to us that these bad things happened, that we double scanned ballots, that we didn't follow the certification process, that there were other irregularities that didn't follow state law. Those are significant admissions of wrongdoing, and now it becomes a felony if any of the acts that the 5 categories of acts that the FBI identifies there are considered to be intentional. I mean, someone did it knowing that they were going to violate the law or they were covering up something. That becomes a federal felony offense, and so that's what the affidavit says. All 5 of those issues that the FBI cited in the bullet points at the top of that are 5 things that Justin News began writing about in 21, 22, 23, 24. All 5 of them, we got Governor Kemp to weigh in on some of it, and he made a referral. Brad Raffensperger, who once called it a perfect election, later had to admit it wasn't. He came on the show several times. Yep, that's true, that's true. All 5 of the things they found are things that we corroborated through evidence, and now Fulton County is admitting that these things happened.
Yeah, and I've got your
John,
5 bullet points up.
And,
Go ahead, Blake. Yes.
Yeah, well, it's just fixating on stuff that, as you say, is sort of, they'll say it's debunked, and yet it never quite was. Like, they do have the strange discrepancy between, like, ballot images. The affidavit goes on at length about they had at one point, 17,852 missing ballot images. There's live examples of ballot images that appear to show literally identical images between different ballots. And, you know, that 17,000 number comes up again. If you check the actual number of votes, President Trump only lost Georgia by 12,000 votes. This is a hyper-blue county. But they, as you say, it is sort of the Al Capone type thing. They repeatedly note that if they're breaking the rules on how they're storing the ballots, how they're scanning them, if they're doing all these process issues with it, even if it didn't change a single outcome, even if it didn't really change a single vote, that would still potentially be a federal crime.
It is. You got it right, Blake. That's exactly what the case is now. When it moves to Arizona, I think there's going to be a different issue with the integrity of where blank
Big news,
and where blank and actual ballots were being stored in the same location. Keep an eye on that. That's going to be a slightly different issue. And then I keep an eye on Michigan. Michigan's going to have some interesting stuff happening pretty soon.
Great work, John. Thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Hour 2 coming up.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
RAV has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with RAV. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are RAV.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. It's been a very busy morning at the White House, highlighted by President Trump's meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. That meeting has been closed to the media so far this morning, but RAV Chief White House correspondent Brian Glenn is live on the grounds of the People's House with the very latest. Brian, obviously no one's been allowed into that meeting. Any idea what's been discussed so far? I'm sure we at least have an idea of what was on the agenda.
Yeah, Terrence, I'm just outside the West Wing here, where shortly after 11 o'clock, Benjamin Netanyahu made his arrival. Now, his arrival here at the White House wasn't through the traditional way, through Pebble Beach and into the West Wing here with the color guard presentation. Rather, it was around the back, in between the White House and the Eisenhower building. So it was kind of off camera for that. But from what I've been told, there's three main topics on discussion today. One would be the peace deal, the Board of Peace, and President Trump sits on the Board of Peace, plans on that. Second discussion would be the second phase of the rebuild of Gaza, and what does that look like, countries involved in that. And then third, lastly, would be the Iranian conflict in terms of their nuclear program and the long-range ballistic missiles that many are wanting them to give up. We'll see what happens through these meetings. Now, as of right now, they are still discussing that, so we haven't got any indication how those meetings have gone, but we'll be right here outside the White House. So as that opens up, if there's a possibility it does open up to the press, we'll have it right here on Real America's Voice.
Brian, typically when the president hosts this sort of high-profile visitor to the White House, particularly with such high-profile issues on the agenda, he does open it up to the media, or at least there's a press availability with him and with the leader. Should we read anything into the fact that that hasn't happened as of yet?
Well, perhaps. We have seen in the past when world leaders come here, and originally that meeting is closed. But if there's any developments within this meeting that President Trump thinks the world media should hear, it's going to open up. So we'll find out exactly. And that could be in a way. If President Trump thinks that the meetings didn't go well, and then there might be a reason why, then he'll open it up for the press to engage in that. Now, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is not necessarily considered considered a press-friendly prime minister, a leader there in Israel. From what I've been told, my colleagues here, he does not have the press engagement that President Trump has. Matter of fact, he's been compared to Joe Biden in terms of the limited press. So if it was in fact to open up, I don't think necessarily that would work in Benjamin Netanyahu's favor. I think that would actually tend to lean into President Trump's favor because he is so media friendly and so used to opening up these meetings to the local, national and foreign press.
And he is engaging for sure. Before I let you go, Brian, there's another big story that's developing over El Paso. Earlier this morning, we, of course, talked about the fact that the airspace over El Paso, Texas, had been shut down. It then quickly reopened early this morning. Initial reports were that there were Mexican drug cartel drones that incurred into the American airspace, causing the closure. But now it seems like there are questions about whether that in fact was the case. There's lots of reporting on the fact that that may not have ultimately been the case, despite reporting from the Department of War.
Yeah, there is an article CBS is reporting that could possibly been drone testing from our own military, that maybe there wasn't communication with the local airport officials there in El Paso. Perhaps some type of message was sent out that they in fact thought it was a foreign Mexican cartel drone, because those drones had been known in the past to be in that area. So they, I guess, assumed that this was once again a Mexican drone. But now it looks like some of this information is coming out that it was really a matter of miscommunication on this drone. So we'll see how that story develops. But the good news is that if you're flying in and out of El Paso, the next airport is 270 miles away.
Brian, 10 seconds. Is it fishy or is it miscommunication? 10 seconds.
I'm going to say miscommunication on this. I don't think we had any drug cartels. I think this is miscommunication.
All right, we'll leave it there. Brian Glenn reporting from the White House.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I'm in Palm Beach. Blake is holding it down in Phoenix at the Bitcoin.com studio. And Blake, we get to talk about your favorite type of music next.
Oh, boy. Which one?
You and Charlie shared your lack of appreciation. You and Charlie shared a lack of appreciation for country music. As somebody who grew up with cowboys all around me and ranchers, I am steeped in it, steeped in the culture, and I love it. And so I'm really excited about this next guest, Jeffrey Steele. He's a Hall of Fame songwriter. He's written hits like Cowboy and Me by Tim McGraw, Rascal Flatts, What Hurts the Most, and My Wish, Montgomery Gentry, My Town, and Hell Yeah. This guy has done some absolute bangers, some huge hits. And he released a song called A Voice. and it mentions Charlie. It was a beautiful tribute to Charlie. And when he released it, I got this song sent to me by about, I'm not kidding, maybe 15, maybe 20 people saying we should have him on. So I'm going to play his song, and we'll welcome Jeffrey Steele, 385.
We're the coal miners, the firefighters, the Charlie Kirk choir, all lighting our lighters, finally waking up. Yeah, we've had enough of the liars, setting the world on fire.
So Jeffrey Steele, Hall of Fame songwriter, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. It's good to have you.
What an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's an honor that you chose to honor Charlie in that way, and to just tell us, it felt like the right time to do this interview because we just had our All-American halftime show and millions tuned in. We're still working on a final number. 40, 50 million people watched that thing. We had obviously a bunch of country acts, and Kid Rock even did Till You Can't. So it felt like the right time to do this. Tell us what inspired you to do this song and this tribute to Charlie.
Well, I mean, the message of the song speaks to what you're just talking about, the numbers you're talking about. People do feel unspoken for, and we just saw it with these numbers that you've got. The song was written about me wanting to try to make a point of talking about the people that are unspoken for and the people that are always neglected in this society. And after Charlie was assassinated, after the song was written, I went to a hometown vigil in Franklin, Tennessee, my hometown, and I showed up with a bunch of friends, and there were 5,000 people in the town square, overflowing with people just praying and singing. There was no statues coming down. There was no flags being lit. There was nobody cussing and screaming and fighting. It was just people praying for a better outcome and a representation of who Charlie really was. And I just, as a songwriter, I was just standing there watching all of that happen. I was like, man, I've got to put this in the song. It's a Charlie Kirk choir out here. And I just felt like it had to go in the song. And I got
I'm not
thrown at me
kidding.
for that.
I was going to say, what's the reaction been from your release of this song? Because you're really well known in that community. I mean, if people at home don't know who you are, everybody in Nashville knows who you are. So it's a big deal.
And a lot of people heard the song, and the first reaction was, "Well, we can help you with this song, but you're going to have to change a couple of the lines." And I was like, I wonder which ones they want me to change. And I said, no, I can't do that, because that's my job as a songwriter. I write what I see. I write the truth, and I try to represent that the best I can. And I just figured I could work this song on my own grassroots if I couldn't get the help from the industry that was kind of frowning upon what I wrote about. So I just figured I'd try to go for it myself with the help of some people like John Rich, and others. I got a few platforms where I could launch this thing and get it heard, and with accompanying video. And the next thing I know, I'm off to the races with a hit song on my hands, because people want to hear it. People do feel like they're not spoken for, and they do need a voice.
Thank you for your courage. And I think, Blake's probably going to have some thoughts on this too. But when we set about doing the halftime show, we hit some serious pushback from venues, from not really artists. A lot of the artists were really excited to be a part of it, but then their agents and their managers would get involved, and they'd be looking at dollar signs, and then there was some sort of hesitancy. Sure. Explain that piece of the industry that people maybe don't understand. Why would there be reticence to use the name Charlie Kirk in a song? Why would there be reticence to be a part of something like the halftime show? And when we push through and we get 40 to 50 million eyeballs on it, does that change things?
Yeah, I feel like, they're pushing a narrative as hard as they can. And it started a few years ago with the national anthem and taking a knee, and the public immediately showed what they thought about that. And you've got basically a country that so many people are everybody in the world's watching this game, but the American audience is so vast, and what they want to see on that field as a representation of what they feel America is. And I think that every year this thing gets crazier, more outlandish, more sex-driven, less morality, less about faith, less about country. And I just think there's quite a few 100 million Americans out there that have just said enough. We've had enough. And that was the reason to try to be a voice for those voices that are just being completely silenced by the music industry. For me to try to get this song out, I can give you a great example. The week after I released this song, Bruce Springsteen comes out with an anthem about Minneapolis. And it's an anti-Trump and it's an anti-ICE lyric. And it's immediately embraced and wrapped around, and it goes to number one. Where my song, they tell me it's too right wing. They can't play it on the radio. And that's what we're up against as a conservative a music listener. You can't find the music unless I find a way. I have to creep and crawl to find a way to get it out there to the public that really wants to hear it. And the main thing is, Andrew, everywhere I've gone playing this song live, before I released it, everywhere I went and played the song live, people are on their feet. They're just immediately on their feet cheering. And I knew that I was hitting a nerve. And so to have them push back at me and not help me promote it, it was a tough thing for a guy that's been around for 45 years. It's a tough thing, but you just have to find ways, and people want to hear it, so you keep pushing for the truth. That's all you can do.
Blake is our resident huge, massive country fan. Any thoughts, Blake?
I mean, I'm very glad. No, I am very glad about the reaction. It's just, you were saying, Andrew, like you grew up around ranchers. I grew up around a lot of ranchers too. It did not. Like Charlie, I was not born with the country gene in my brain. But I'm very glad that you've shown that love for Charlie, Jeffrey. I'm very glad your song is a hit for that reason. And I'm glad the All American Halftime Show was a hit. If people want to hear country music, they should hear country music. I just might go put on rock music instead.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think to put it down, to put down the halftime show and to put down somebody's work. I mean, this is America. It's free speech. We should be able to get it all out there. Either we get all of it out there or we get none of it out there. And the one thing that Charlie was a voice for everybody. He was a voice for everybody that felt like they didn't have a voice. That was his whole mission. To bring what he knew and just try to bring some common sense to everything he spoke about and let people have a microphone and have a voice to speak their minds. And that's really was the basis of the song. So there was no way I couldn't include that in the song. I had to speak to him and what he did for young Americans.
Good for you, Jeffrey. So how do people get the song? How do they support you? 30 seconds left, Jeffrey.
Okay, through all the traditional means, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, all the streaming services, you can go to jeffreysteele.com, and that will link you right to it. That's probably the easiest way. But and look for me. I'll be around all around the country playing this song. But it's available at all your normal streaming, Spotify, Pandora, all of them, anywhere, iTunes, and jeffreysteele.com. A voice. Be a voice.
Well, yeah, amen. God bless you. I mean, you're a legend in the space, and thank you for honoring our friend in the way that you have and for standing firm, keeping his name in there. God bless you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me a minute. I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded.
Fact first. America first. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show.
How does it feel to represent your country like this?
It feels amazing. I love representing the U.S. I freaking love living there. I love it, and I'm so happy I get to represent USA!
Blake, isn't it just so nice that all of our Olympians are just, honoring the flag, patriots, just being so gracious in their interviews in Milan? Isn't it amazing?
If only that were the case, Andrew.
Man, why don't you start us off, Blake? Who's the most offensive this year?
First of all, I'm going to say the real villain here, of course, are the press, because they're the ones who ask the questions. I don't think it's not like the Oscars where everyone goes up on stage and like they're chomping at the bit to go out and be like, by the way, screw America. It's that every single person, after they compete, after they win a medal, there's some hack with a media badge who's like, oh, does it feel awkward to compete for your evil demon fascist country? Which they'll never ask anyone in any other country. So the one that's been in the news lately that stood out is freestyle skater Hunter Hess, who had some negative vibes. We'll show that clip 310.
Up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
And it's all such a rigged thing. There's an American-born skier, Eileen Gu. She competed in China. The last Winter Olympics were in China. She competed in those as an American-born individual, but of Chinese descent. She's competing for China again, and she's like the perfect example because she's opined, we need legal abortion in America. She supports Black Lives Matter, and anytime Chinese internal policy of any kind comes up, she's like, I do not comment on internal matters within the People's Republic of China. Like 100% a double standard, 100% nonsense. Nobody's ever going to badger her. Oh, how do you feel about internal events in Hong Kong, this or that treatment of dissidents, this or that political action by the Chinese government, which is vastly more authoritarian than anything going on under President Trump. Pure nonsense. But instead we get more of this. We have another clip. This is skater Amber Glenn, clip 311.
It's been a hard time for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights. And now, especially, it's not just affecting the queer community, but many other communities. I hope I can use my platform and my voice throughout these games to try and encourage people to stay strong in these hard times. I know that a lot of people say you're just an athlete, like stick to your job, shut up about politics, but politics affect us all. It is something that I will not just be quiet about because it is something that affects us in our everyday lives.
Deport. That's my word for them. Deport. I don't even care. It's so obscene. Yeah. That clip, we've played that one before because it was from before. This is so offensive to so many people because, Blake, can you riddle me this? Like one policy from the Trump administration that is affecting LGBTQ plus IA whatevers? One policy.
I guess we're rolling back. We're rolling back some of the transgender insanity. And then the other day, because of the rule that they said stop waving pride flags at government facilities, they took down the pride flag at the Stonewall National Monument, which I got a big kick out of. But I feel like that's the biggest atrocity. Obviously, they're not doing anything on certainly not their right to exist or whatever hyperbolic rhetoric you'll find online.
It's so offensive to me because, listen, all these people enjoy wonderful lives. They have amazing opportunities because of this country. It just, if you can't say nothing nice, just don't say anything at all. And you're right, Blake. It's these media villains that come in and they try and bait athletes that have no media training, that don't know how to kind of weave out of a stupid question. They were doing this, by the way, at the Australian Open as well. It was one guy who kept going around saying, what is it like in this terrible time in your fascist dictatorial country? And it's completely a rigged game. They're not asking anybody else this. I mean, why don't they go ask British athletes, say, well, what does it feel like to have your whole country invaded by Muslims? Is it really hard to represent your country? No questions about that. What about the cover up of the rape gangs? No, none of it. And this is part of, we're victims of our own success here. And Blake, you've probably experienced this. When you travel abroad, the foreign media covers like half of their own country, and then half of their programming is just devoted to anything that's going on in America. So the entire world feels like they're entitled to opine on American domestic politics. Oh yeah, it's frustrating.
We are 100% victims of our own success, and just how fascinating we are. I've seen people joke where it's like Canadians notoriously often follow American politics more than their own politics. A lot of Europeans, as you say, it's 50-50. And I guess we're also just victims of the nature of modern sports media. If you're a sports journalist, probably no one's going to care that much about your curling athletes unless, if you can get them to say something bashing ICE, bashing the administration, it's now a general story, which they were completely successful at. We have clip 361.
But we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention what's going on in Minnesota and what a tough time it's been for everybody. I am a lawyer, as you know, and we do we have a constitution, and it allows us to freedom of the press and freedom of speech, protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures, and makes it that we have to, have probable cause to be pulled over. And what's happening in Minnesota is wrong. There's no shades of gray. It's clear.
Yeah, you know it is wrong what's happening in Minnesota because these agitators should stop harassing law enforcement, you dunce.
Man, anyone can become a curler is what I got from that video. It's like, oh, it's like 45-year-old lawyer-looking guy. But to make sure we get this in, Vice President Vance had a very good response to Hunter Hess's comments that we showed a few minutes ago. We need to play that. 363.
Olympic athletes were unbelievable, and I know the entire country is rooting for them. Yes, you're going to have some Olympic athletes who pop off about politics. I feel like that happens every Olympics. My advice to them would be to try to bring the country together. And when you're representing the country, you're representing Democrats and Republicans. You're there to play a sport, and you're there to represent your country and hopefully win a medal. You're not there to pop off about politics. So when Olympic athletes enter the political arena, they should expect some pushback. But most Olympic athletes, whatever their politics, are doing a great job, are certainly enjoy the support of the entire country. And I think recognize that the way to bring the country together is not to show up in a foreign country and attack the President of the United States.
Let me translate that for you. Shut up and dribble. That's it. That's all we want you to do. We'll be back. We're going to do Around the Horn Turning Point Action endorsements with Tyler Boyer. We'll be right back.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shop. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate.
Welcome back to this Real America's Voice news break. I'm Terrence Bates. The airspace over El Paso, Texas is back open after being closed to all incoming and outbound aircraft late last night. Initially, the FAA said the airspace and airport were going to be closed for 10 days. That time frame, though, quickly changed as the situation is now back to normal. Meantime, there are serious questions being asked about what actually caused the closure. Initially, unnamed sources at the Department of War said Mexican cartel drones breached U.S. airspace and had to be, quote, disabled. But now there are reports that the closure stemmed from disagreements between the FAA and the DOW over the Pentagon's testing of drones in that area. Just hours ago, El Paso's mayor blasted the FAA's decision to abruptly close the airspace over his city.
I want to be very, very clear that this should have never happened. You cannot restrict airspace over a major city without coordinating with the city, the airport, the hospitals, the community leadership. That failure to communicate is unacceptable. These types of decisions have consequences. Medical evacuation flights were forced to divert to Las Cruces. All aviation operations were grounded, including emergency flights.
And back in Washington, D.C., Attorney General Pam Bondi is talking on Capitol Hill. She's in the midst of a hearing there on Capitol Hill, which has been fairly contentious so far. Let's listen in.
Just yes or no, would you agree that government officials should be respectful and supportive of victims' families as they mourn?
First, Congresswoman, thank you for talking about that, and I'm so very sorry for what happened to your family.
Thank you.
And yes, I agree with that with all victims, including the ones sitting behind us today. I absolutely do. Okay. And also, thank you for voting yes on the Lake and Riley Act.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so your answer is why the recent treatment of families in Minnesota raises really serious concerns for me, because shortly after Mr. Alex Preddy was murdered, administration officials referred to him as an assassin and called Mr. Preddy the definition of domestic terrorism. They also lied about Mr. Preddy holding a gun and threatening officers. After Ms. Renee Good was murdered by ICE officials in Minneapolis, administration officials also accused her of being a domestic terrorist and investigated her wife in a clear act of retaliation. The statement Mr. Preddy's mother made after the murder resonated with me more than you'll ever imagine. She said that, and I'm quoting, "The sickening lies told about our son by the administration are reprehensible and disgusting," end quote. And I assure you, I know how it feels to hear lies that are told to justify the taking of someone's son. They were used by my son's murderer as a defense, and those lies still affect me today. He was called a thug, and he was called a gangbanger. And the attorneys from your office actually defended my son's name, his memory, and defended his honor. I'm certain that Mr. Preddy's mother watched videos of her son, Alex, an ICU nurse at the VA hospital, using his phone to record federal agents. She also watched him getting pepper sprayed, kicked, hit in the head, and surrounded by at least 7 agents before having his gun removed from his waistband, which he legally carried. And she watched seconds later as 2 of those agents shot her son Alex at least 10 times. The administration was quick to spew an incorrect narrative and call him so many things that they wanted us to ignore the truth that we actually saw with our own eyes. Ms. Bondi, will you denounce the statements that were made to tarnish the names of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, and will you protect their names like those attorneys back in Florida under your watch protected my son's name?
What I will say is we are looking at everything to shed light on what happened that day, and it is an ongoing and active investigation. Both of those cases, and I assure you they will be investigated.
Investigating, we understand that, but will you do everything in your power, as you have done for my case, as you are asked to do, as you've sworn an oath to do? It is your responsibility to make sure that you are following the rule of law. Those families in Minnesota, they deserve the same respect. They deserve a full investigation, which you have not even begun to do yet. So what are you saying, is that they don't deserve any respect for a full investigation into their murders?
Well,
that is incompetence on your behalf. behalf.
Well, that is
the
not
American
accurate.
people do deserve better. Non-commitment to defending the rule of law is what we see from you.
I
will
told you we
always
were
stand up for
investigating.
survivors, and I heard you say earlier when you told us that you will fight for them as well. And based on the information before us, these families have not received the same commitment to investigate what happened to their loved ones, nor have they received the respect that I would expect from the nation's top law enforcement officer. Investigations have been slow-walked, they've been canceled, and the special agent assigned to Renee Good's investigation resigned following pressure from your officials to reclassify Ms. Good's case.
Time of the
For
gentlelady.
families seeking answers and accountability, the withdrawal of investigative resources is simply unacceptable.
Has expired. The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, I get the sense that we've lost a little perspective here. The most fundamental responsibility of government is to protect the lives and property of its citizens. Now, you cited some crime figures in your opening statement, and I wonder if you could repeat them, because I think it's one of the most extraordinary achievements of the Department of Justice in our history, and I don't think some of my colleagues heard you clearly.
Thank you, Congressman. And would you mind if I address something that Congresswoman McBath wouldn't let me address first?
Go right ahead.
The reason that she wants to continue to talk about Minnesota, which we will all day long, is she doesn't want to talk about her own jurisdiction in Atlanta, because she doesn't want to talk about Christopher Welcher, who traveled across state lines to try to meet, and nothing's funny about this, to meet and molest a 14-year-old girl in Georgia. That's why they're watching the clock, the American people should know, for the second it runs out, because they don't want to address anything in their jurisdiction. They're elected to represent people in their jurisdiction. We prosecuted illegal aliens who ran a large-scale meth operation in the Atlanta metro area.
You understand we don't prosecute, right, Ms. Mondi?
Madam Attorney General.
I'm the law.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Mr. McClintock.
So yes, the statistics I spoke of earlier, Congressman, under the leadership of the FBI, historic work has been done. A drop 20% in the nationwide murder rate in 2025. Least murders in our country since 1900, and that is to the work because of the credit of Donald
It's not just homicides,
Trump.
is it? It's also other violent crimes, robbery. Could you go through that list real quick?
Yes, Congressman. 100% increase in violent crime arrests in 2025 compared to 2024.
What's that done to the violent crime rate in the country?
It's plummeting. 1,800 gangs.
Wait a second. Do you mean to honestly tell us, and you're under oath, that if we take violent criminals off the streets, we end up with less crime?
I certainly hope so, Congressman, and that's our goal, and that's
an extraordinary concept, and I'm afraid it may be lost on some of our Democratic colleagues. I look at these numbers, and they're absolutely staggering. It didn't happen by accident. It happened because of specific policies that you've implemented this year. And you mentioned a few of them. Would you continue?
Over 6,000 child victims located, 22% increase. Over 1,700 child predators arrested, 10% increase. Over 300 human traffickers arrested. Let me jump down to DEA right now. That was just FBI. Under Terry Cole's leadership, and I talk to these people almost daily, our directors, and the amazing work that they're doing in all of your jurisdictions on the left and the right, working together to take drugs off our streets.
Right, and I assume that our Democratic colleagues, some of whom represent some of our most crime-plagued cities and communities, have thanked you for this extraordinary accomplishment.
Thank you, Congressman. We've seized more than 9,800 kilos of fentanyl and 47 million fentanyl pills. That affects every single person in this room. It doesn't matter what political party you are. Everyone in this room knows someone who's died from fentanyl. A parent, a child, a sister, a brother, a friend, a neighbor, a relative. Everyone here knows someone who has been impacted by by that. That is the common ground that I wish we could find to work together in this country to take these drugs off the streets. And someone nodded with vapes.
Well, in your opening statement, you said this historic success in protecting the lives and property of Americans has occurred when local governments have cooperated with you.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what are the greatest impediments you're facing in bringing down crime across the country?
Well, when local governments, of course, do not cooperate with us, and that's where criminals flee, in jurisdictions where they know they will be protected by local governments. And this is all about working together, and we have shown that in what we did in D.C., what we're doing in Memphis, working together with Democrat mayors in these cities right here in D.C.
And very quickly, if you could tell us about the Safe Cities program and give us your read on what cities that avail themselves of this program can expect.
Yes, so far, of course, we've been working in Washington, D.C., right here to do everything we can, working hand in hand with the mayor, with Metro PD, to keep everyone safe in D.C., and it's been a tremendous effort. And now we're in Memphis, working with the mayor in Memphis, as we talked about earlier, doing everything we can. These are iconic cities in our country, and we want to help every city in this country who wants and asks for President Trump's help to make America safe again.
Gentlemen,
Mr. Chair, I have, you see.
Let the record show that Democrat was applauding the Attorney General's answer there. A unanimous consent?
Yes, please.
All right, the gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I have a few unanimous consent requests. I would like to submit into the record this New York Times article titled "Alex Pretty's Friends and Family Denounce Sickening Lies About His Life." I also would like to submit this Daily Mail exclusive interview with Vice President J.D. Vance titled "J.D. Vance Refuses to Apologize to Alex Pretty's Family After Spreading ICE Assassin Claim." One more. My last submission request is a New York Times article titled "FBI Agent Who Tried to Investigate ICE Officer in Shooting Resigns."
Without objection.
Thank you.
The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, I think you and pretty much everybody else here and throughout the country believes that convicted sex offenders don't deserve special treatment or privileges in prison. And yet Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, received perk after perk in prison. In July, she had a 2-day interview with your deputy and President Trump's former defense attorney, Todd Blanche. Just days after that, Maxwell was transferred from a federal correctional institution in Florida to a minimum security camp in Texas, which she, as a sex offender, would normally be ineligible for. At this new facility, as the ranking member talked about, and by the way, it's nicknamed Club Fed, we've heard reports that she's been afforded special privileges: puppy time, private workouts, personal mail, secretarial services. Attorney General Bondi, does a convicted sex offender like Ghislaine Maxwell deserve special treatment and privileges in prison? Yes or no?
Let me be crystal clear on this. No. And let me keep going. No, let me keep going.
Perfect. Well, I
did not know she was being transferred.
I asked you yes or no.
She was not transferred to a lower
Mr. Chairman,
level.
please stop the clock and remind the witness of the rules. One rule she needs to understand.
And I'm glad that we're agreeing. So when we're agreeing, we can move on to some other things. But I want you to know that every time she does get these perks, and it's been publicly reported, that the folks she's abused, the survivors who are sitting here, they see themselves as being denied justice. They feel re-traumatized. And I'm glad that we agree on that. But she should not be in that prison. And she needs to be moved back to a maximum security prison as soon as possible. But what she has told another committee here is that she won't cooperate with them unless she gets clemency from Donald Trump. It's just crazy to consider that she can be wielding this kind of influence within the administration. But that begs the question, who ordered her to be transferred to the minimum security prison that she was ineligible for? Who signed off on the special privileges? Was it Mr. Blanche? Was it one of your other subordinates? So please, can you tell us who sent her there, since you don't agree she should be there?
I said I do not agree she should receive special treatment. She was transferred, I learned after the fact, to the same level facility, and that is a question for the Bureau of Prisons. I was not involved in that at all. The same level facility, I don't know why, but you know, instead of talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, who hopefully will die in prison, you should be talking about Irina Zarutska.
I have a couple
who
of
died
other
on a
questions.
subway.
Right, and I absolutely...
You don't talk about that.
I have been talking about it and actually helping with these issues. But we're going to move back to you.
I bet we are.
Yes, of course, because you're here to testify. That's what the whole point of this endeavor is. So, of course, we're moving back to you. It is all about you. So, as we've heard, she took the fifth in response to every single question in that committee hearing. And her lawyer dangled the offer of clemency. Should Donald Trump pardon or commute her sentence? Should she be released from prison, yes or no? You said you hope she dies there, so I'm hoping the answer is no.
I already answered that question.
Good. I'm very glad. I really like this bipartisan agreement about
when
what
it
should
agrees
happen.
with you. But you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You don't want to talk about
I talk about
murdered
her all
by
the
a
time,
violent crime
but I am not here to testify before Congress. You are. That is your job today. That's what you're getting paid for.
With attack.
I want you to know that your own DOJ employee, he's recently been demoted and had some other problems, advises on pardons. Do you think he will be advising Mr. Trump on any kind of clemency or pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell?
I'm not going to speculate, and you couldn't even identify properly. That's why you don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska. You couldn't properly identify her relative.
I absolutely
it's embarrassing.
Have been, and her family, by the way, appreciates all of the condolences, all of the help, everything that our law enforcement in North Carolina has been doing to help her family. Her family feels well treated. Thank you, and I yield back.
Ms. Lady yields back.
You've been watching Attorney General Pam Bondi's testimony before the House Judiciary Committee. As you saw and heard, it's gotten a little contentious, gotten a little testy. If you'd like to continue watching this, you can go to our various social media platforms, be it Getter, Rumble, YouTube, and you can continue to watch there as well. For now, though, we're going to get you back to the Charlie Kirk Show.
Defaulted. So there's a lot of you out there that are struggling with this, or you know somebody that is. So if you know a family member, if your son or daughter is struggling with it, if you've got your mom or dad as a co-signer on your loan, please check them out. They don't care what your credit score is. They care about helping you. And I told you this a couple times. I've been to their offices recently. Their whole reason for being, I'm not kidding, they wake up and they get in that office and they take calls from you when you call them 888-YREFI34. And they want to help you. They're kind of like grief counselors sometimes, because you are calling them in dire straits and they know it and they take that seriously. So please, there's no shame in this. If you find yourself in a position with private student loan debt that is getting out of control, they want to help and they've heard it all. So you don't have anything to hide. Please do not let shame or guilt or depression get in the way. Call them 888-YREFI34 or log on at yrefi.com, yrefi.com. Please check it out. All right, so we just found out that Thomas Massie is apparently anti the SAVE Act, which puts him out of step with the entirety of the conservative movement, basically. There's some fireworks also on the House floor, because Pam Bondi just went after him directly as well. So lots going on today.
Yeah, she was testifying about the Epstein files today, so he was digging into her. Hopefully we can get that clip. That'd be interesting. But yeah, Tyler,
there's literally no excuse to be anti-SAVE Act.
Yeah, none.
I mean, there's zero excuse. Like, literally, it's an 80-20. At this point, you just look ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
I've stayed quiet on the Massey thing, but this is obscene. How do you be no against the SAVE Act?
I mean,
all the arguments that have been made pro Massey, and again, we've been historically, Charlie was friendly with Thomas, and there's I think one of the best YouTube videos I've ever watched was him, putting in a Tesla cell to power his off-the-grid house.
Yeah, he's such an impressive guy. You really want to love him.
Dude, he's incredible.
From an impoverished town in Kentucky, he goes to MIT, marries his high school sweetheart, builds his off-the-grid house, has his battery-powered national debt clock that he wears around. A very impressive guy in a lot of ways. But I do think he's feuded with President Trump a long time. He feuded with him in the first term, and I do think that's warped him a bit over time, but you could offer more perspective on that.
Yeah, I think what happens is you just get a certain people in Congress, unfortunately, get sucked into just talking to the people who fund them the most, which I think is actually antithetical to what the idea of Congress is supposed to be. The idea of Congress is supposed to be originally was that you're a representative of the people. It was a certain amount of people. It was a lot smaller of a group of people in America at the time when it was originally devised. And you were deeply influenced by your actual community. And unfortunately, congressmen, have, I think it's 700 and some odd thousand people that they represent. And so the reality of representing people just doesn't happen. And so when you're peppered by people who talk to you the most, which end up being your fundraisers and the people who give you money and the people who influence you the most or have been your ideological fanboys or fangirls, you listen to those people the most. And they warp your sense of representation, and I think that people fall prey to that on the left for sure. We see that all the time. Obviously, we see that with the entire Democrat Party, but we see it happen on the right, fairly frequently, where these people just become fairly warped and inaccessible, and they just become, full of vitriol for, again, the president or for a specific piece of legislation. They get warped, and then it crashes their career instead of being balanced, which I think Thomas Massey has been balanced for most of his career, and it's unfortunate to see him go against the SAVE Act.
Yeah, and I think genuinely I felt terrible for Thomas Massey when he lost his wife. Yep. The president's been opining on Truth Social, though, that his new wife is leading him down this very liberal path, and who knows? It's not really you can't really know that sort of thing. But this is that fiery exchange I was just telling you about. We have it loaded now between Attorney General Pam Bondi and Thomas Massey on the floor of the House. 419.
Chairman, it's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of over 4,700, and we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician. You need to get off these matters.
That was the illustrious constitutional Republican action. No, but yeah, she was mad that they had Wexner's name blacked out on something, which evidently they knew he was there because he could call it out, and then they put it in within 40 minutes. It's such a bizarre thing.
But Blake, they're also getting mad at the lack of redactions too. They're saying it's too messy. There's not enough redactions. There's people on both sides of this debate. There has been such a push from grassroots on the left and the right, politicians on the left and the right to get this stuff out. They pushed it all out based on this act that was passed. And now there's people saying not enough redactions, too many redactions. So it's a complete mess either way you look at it.
Is Massey the first politician to go downhill big time when he grew a beard? Like J.D. Vance got way better with the beard. I feel like usually growing a beard is awesome for a politician.
I think it goes either way. I think it's like, when they talk about, women changing their hair color dramatically, it's like either it's really good or really indicative of something not going well.
Yeah.
I think that's beards for men.
Yeah, but I don't know. As a beard grower myself,
you're doing great.
I'm territorial. We want it to be an improvement.
You slow rolled into it.
Yes.
You've gone the full I'm trying to get you to go the full linen, shave off.
Let's not go too far here yet, Tyler. Before we close, Andrew, I do want to emphasize that point you mentioned, why it is so important that we win, because it does come down to who's staffing things in D.C. And as much as we think Trump did have the chance to improve because they spent 4 years in the wilderness and they learned a lot from mistakes and they came out like a cannonball, the biggest loss they had was they had 4 years of appointments, interrupted 4 years of Biden, and then they resume. And you saw this with Obama especially. A lot of consolidation happens in the second half of an administration, And especially in a second term, you have a full, like a kind of generation of federal hires who are controlled by a process. And there's all these rule changes. You basically need till the end of this term for President Trump to win every Supreme Court case he's going to have to win to have strong control over federal hiring. And then you'll get that in the second half. So that's why all of these turning point endorsements, these turning point action endorsements matter. That's why we need them to win so that we can win in 28. It's all about consolidation.
Can you imagine 12 years of hiring? 12 years of hiring at the federal level? Man.
We have to win in 2028, and we need people to work together. We've got to work. We got to stick together as a movement.
Sign up
Don't
at
give in
TP
to
Action.
The doomers and the divisors.
TPAction.com.
Yes. We'll see you tomorrow.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. Freedom to speak your mind. Freedom to protest policies you don't like. Freedom to start a business. Freedom to own property. Freedom to vote. Freedom to flourish. It's easy to take these things for granted, but for many people around the world, freedom is merely a dream, and those who fight for it risk losing everything. Their reputations, their livelihoods, even their lives. Scan the QR code now or visit atlasnetwork.org/rev today to help freedom become a reality for people fighting back against authoritarianism. With your gift of just $19 a month, we'll send you an exclusive Atlas Network hat. Plus, we'll send the print edition of our Freedom's Champion magazine to your door. Atlas Network was founded to help pro-freedom organizations around the world develop, implement, and defend policies that foster freedom against tyranny. Visit atlasnetwork.org/rev or scan the QR code now to help us make freedom a reality for millions of people around the world. Donate $19 a month to receive your exclusive hat.